What's going on, guys? It's Greg here. I just wanted to make a quick video about the top 5 knots that I think everybody should know and that are very useful for survival and SHTF. So, number 1 is going to be your uni knot. The uni knot has a lot of different uses. If you're a fisherman, you've probably used it before for tying a hook to your fishing line. That's actually where I first used it. The uni knot is one of the strongest knots. Any fisherman will tell you that the uni knot is one of the strongest knots for tying hooks. You can also use a uni knot as a noose. It makes a very good noose, believe it or not. You know, if you want to make like a noose for snaring an animal. And it's also good for joining 2 lines together. It's also good for, rigging up a tarp shelter. There's really a uni knot is just a very good multi-purpose knot, but you could also use it as a noose as well. And then number 2 would be the bowline. The bowline, if you're a climber or you're a fireman, or if you're EMS, EMT, you probably know what the bowline is. A bowline, you can use it for rescue. If you want to rescue yourself, you can wrap a piece of cord around, or rope. Ideally would be a rope, obviously, but if you have nothing else, you can use some type of paracord. If you have nothing, you wrap it around your waist and you tie a bowline, and somebody could pull you out. Let's say you're stuck in like a vehicle, or you're stuck in a ditch somewhere. Typically what the rescuers do is they'll throw a rope down to someone, and they'll tie a bowline around their waist, and then they'll get pulled up. The key with the bowline is that it has to stay loaded under constant tension, because if it gets like deloaded and then loaded back again with tension or weight, it's going to loosen up and undo itself. So the bowline, you have to remember that it's good for cases where you need constant tension. It may not be the best for climbing, especially if you're going to tie it to like a rock or a tree and then try to descend down like a cliff or something else, a building. It may loosen up on you and you may fall. So just keep that in mind. But the bowline, it has a lot of different uses. It's good to know the bowline. It's very easy to tie. There's a lot of different variations of the bowline. You can really get crazy with the bowline. There's so many different variations of them. But, just knowing the basic bowline, that's a very critical knot. You can use it for so many things. Then number 3 is the taut line hitch, which is taught in the Boy Scouts. The taut line hitch is used for rigging up a shelter, typically like a tarp shelter, or if you need it for like rigging up a tent. Basically with the taut line hitch, it allows you to tie, let's say you're tying like a piece of rope to a tree or some type of object, and you're tying it to, let's say, 2 different trees. Like, let's say, imagine like a clothesline, for example. You're not going to be able to have the knot tighten on both sides without pulling it. It just won't work. So you need to have at least a taut line hitch on one side, because what it allows you to do is allows you to slide the knot towards the tree, or whatever, towards the post, and then you can tighten your knot that way. So taut line hitch is critical for rigging up any kind of shelter, or even just a clothesline, something like that. But primarily it's used for rigging up a tarp shelter or tent. That's what they teach in the Boy Scouts. That's one of the basic knots they teach in the Boy Scouts. Number 4 is a slip knot. Slip knot is nothing fancy, but it's good to know if you're making like some type of a trap, like an animal trap. Slip knots can be handy, because as soon as you pull it out, the knot will undo itself. So slip knots have a lot of uses especially for traps. For animal traps, a slip knot is very useful. But you can use it for anything, really, whatever you can think of. It's just a good knot to know. It's very easy. I mean, there's really nothing to it. It's just a normal knot with a bend. So this way, when you pull the line, the knot just comes undone. And then the the last one would be the Alpine butterfly knot. This is not really a knot that a lot of people know about unless they're climbers. It's not something that, you know, you're going to use, that a lot of like bushcrafters will use, or, you know, fishermen. You know, Alpine butterfly is a climbing knot, you know, so basically the Alpine butterfly knot is useful in a situation where you want to make yourself like a rope ladder. If you want to climb up something or down something, let's say if you have some type of object that you can use as like a grappling hook, if you want to climb up into a structure, if you want to climb up over a wall, if you want to, you know, descend down a structure or descend down a cliff or something, the Alpine butterfly knots, you can make yourself a rope ladder by just alternating. You know, let's say like every 2 feet you tie like a Alpine butterfly knot alternating, and that'll give you footholds and handholds so you can just climb up the rope. You know, you won't fatigue yourself. So this is very good for like an SHTF situation. You know, if you have to climb up into a structure, if you have to climb over a wall, if you got to descend down a cliff or something, you know, obviously I'm not going to recommend using, you know, something like this unless it's an absolute necessity, absolute emergency, you know, and you have to have the right type of climbing rope. You know, you don't want to just use cheap climbing rope or paracord. You got to have good quality climbing rope, and you have to take care of it. You got to maintain it, make sure that it's not, you know, wearing out. You got to replace it every so often if you use it a lot. So, you know, I'm not recommending that you know, use the Alpine butterfly, you know, to climb on a regular basis. It's just something in an emergency. I mean, if you really want to use it on a regular basis, then I recommend, you know, getting a good quality climbing rope and maybe hooking up with somebody that can train you. So yeah, so those are my top 5 survival and SHTF knots that I think everybody should know. And, you know, besides that, there's a lot of other knots out there. You know, you can also learn, you know, there's a lot of basic knots. I'm not going to really go into that, but, you know, you've got your basic figure 8 knot. You got a fisherman's knot. You know, the figure 8 knot is good for using, like, if you got to tie the end of something, you know, and you want to tie like a knot at the end of a rope, then the figure 8 is good. Or if you want to make like a, you know, like a eyelet, you know, you can use a figure 8 knot to pinch off a little bit and have like a little eyelet. You can also use the fisherman's knot is very common, typically used for fishing, you know, attaching a fishing hook. They also call that the improved clinch knot. So there's a lot of different ones out there. There's also the Bimini twist. The Bimini twist is very good for joining two lines together. It's commonly used for fishing. If you want to join 2 fishing lines together, it has one of the strongest breaking strength out of all the knots. It's even stronger than the uni knot, stronger than the fisherman's knot. So, you know, Bimini twist is another good one. That's if you want to join 2 ropes together. If you have like two ropes or 2 cords, 2 fishing lines, the Bimini twist is going to be probably your strongest knot that you could use to join 2 knots together. That's basically it, you know. So top 5 knots, you know, your uni knot, your bowline, your taut line hitch, your slip knot, and your Alpine butterfly. And then, you know, some other good knots to know would be the fisherman's knot, your figure 8, and your Bimini twist. Those are some other good ones as well. Also a Prusik knot is good, you know, Prusik knot, that's very simple. You know, you can use a Prusik knot if you want to make like an improvised, what do they call those? I don't know what the word is, but let's say you have like one line, you know, if you can run a line to something else, and you want to make like another line and you want to like slide down it, you know, you could use a Prusik knot to do that, you know. So that's it, guys. I hope this video, you know, educated you in some way, or you took something positive out of it. And just remember that Jesus Christ loves you. He loves all of us. Be thankful for everything that you have. Thank the Lord. And I'll see you guys on the next one.